David privately swapped the kidney source, giving the one meant for our Lily to Jessica's Emily. Later, Lily's condition worsened, and she died despite rescue efforts. At the same time, Jessica's Emily's surgery was successful, and David happily gave the whole hospital cash bonus. I was overcome with rage and fainted. When I woke up, I was told I had cancer and was on a countdown to death. Heartbroken, I left the hospital holding Lily's urn. Alone in the cold house, I drafted the divorce papers. At 10 o'clock that night, David finally came home. He closed the door, took off his coat, and the living room lights suddenly came on. He was startled, caught off guard. I was sitting silently on the living room sofa, holding an urn. I don't know how long I'd been there. Sarah, are you crazy? Not sleeping in the middle of the night, just sitting here trying to scare people? Hearing David's loud rebuke, I mechanically raised my head and looked at him. Even though it was late at night, David's hair wasn't out of place, and his shirt was perfectly neat. It showed how important the mother and daughter were to him, the ones he had been meticulously caring for and accompanying day after day. They made him, usually a sloppy person, pay attention to his image. Seeing me just stare at him without speaking, David's face was full of annoyance. Are you still holding a grudge about the kidney source? My hand holding the urn tightened. Didn't I tell you? There will be other kidney sources later. I'm a doctor. I have to consider the patient first. Emily is in the best recovery phase right now. Transplanting this kidney to her will achieve the optimal cure effect. I know you feel for Lily, but she's waited so long already. Does a little more time really matter? She's my daughter, it's not like I won't take care of her. David's tone was full of impatience, sounding so self-righteous, as if I were just an unreasonable shrew. But it did matter, that little bit of time. After missing that kidney source, Lily's condition rapidly deteriorated. She never opened her eyes again. My Lily, she was so young. Before she died, she held my hand tightly and asked why Dad hadn't come, if he didn't love her anymore. I could only keep kissing her cheeks, telling her Mom was here, Mom would always be with her. Until she completely closed her eyes, Lily never got to see her dad one last time. His first love's daughter, Emily, survived because she got the kidney source in time, but her daughter used my daughter's kidney source. I hated this hypocritical, selfish man, and I never wanted to see him again in my life. Apparently feeling he had lectured enough, David finally shut up and tossed his perfume-scented coat to me. Here, wash it before I go to work tomorrow, and remember to iron it smooth. Seeing my indifference, my failure to reach out and take it, letting the coat fall to the floor, David frowned. I looked up into his eyes and spoke with certainty, let's get a divorce. David froze. He seemed unable to believe these words came from my mouth, his eyes full of doubt and disbelief. What did you say? I forced a slight smile. I said, David, I want a divorce. Saying that, I pushed the divorce papers I had drafted on the table towards him. Here are the divorce papers. I don't want any assets. The courthouse opens at 9 tomorrow, remember to bring your documents. For a moment, the air in the living room seemed to freeze. David didn't look at the papers, instead, visible anger began to surge. Are you kidding me? You just have to make a scene about this tonight? Emily needed this kidney source more than Lily. Haven't I made myself clear enough? Sarah, can't you stop being so selfish? His angry gaze pierced me, as if trying to force me to back down. I completely ignored him and spoke calmly again. David, I'm divorcing you. This isn't a discussion. His face instantly turned cold, then he sneered, so now you've learned to threaten me, have you? He picked up his coat, put it on, his face tight, and turned to walk towards the door. Clearly, David decided that out of sight was out of mind, and he wasn't planning on staying home tonight. At the door, he didn't forget to turn back and warn me coldly, Sarah, I'm telling you, even if we do divorce, Lily's custody will absolutely be mine, you'd better not regret this. With that, David slammed the door and left. The living room returned to a suffocating silence. I stroked the urn in my arms, like comforting a frightened child. From the moment he entered until he left, David didn't ask a single question out of concern about whether his daughter was in pain today or if she was asleep so late. He didn't even consider the volume of his voice, even the slamming of the door was deafening. From beginning to end, he didn't care what the urn in my arms was for. I looked at the empty doorway, my gaze vacant. David, you didn't get to see Lily's last moments. You're certainly not going to see mine. The next day, I waited punctually at the courthouse entrance. After 9 o'clock, David still hadn't arrived, so I decisively called him. A furious voice came from the other end, Sarah, what else can you do besides throwing tantrums? You just have to make my life difficult, don't you? My tone was calm, come sign the divorce papers, David. Don't make me look down on you. Finally, he came. We signed the papers, stamped them, and the divorce certificate was in hand. David's face was very grim, turning his anger into a sarcastic laugh. All right, I really underestimated you. Don't forget what I said, Lily's custody is mine. Sarah, I'm giving you 3 days to pack your things and bring the child over, otherwise, I won't hesitate to take you to court. Looking at his furious back, I wanted to laugh, but a taste of bloody rust surged in my throat. David, Lily passed away, you know, she died the same day Emily's surgery was successful. Would you be happy? At least it saves you a court fee. I didn't go back to that house. I had burned all of Lily's things and thrown away all my own. I had also cut up all the photos in the house. Recently, my body had been feeling worse and worse. The blood I coughed up often contained fragments of internal organs. My insistence on getting the divorce certificate was so that David and I would no longer be family, not even in the afterlife. That day, I took the luggage I had already packed and carried Lily's urn back to my family home. My parents had always respected my decisions. Just like how they clearly didn't like David back then but agreed to let me marry him to make me happy. It was the same now. Looking at the urn in my arms and my emaciated body, they already guessed what had happened but didn't ask any questions. They just made me nutritious meals every day and wiped the blood from my mouth. After coughing up blood until I was hoarse again, looking at the pain in my parents' eyes, I only felt regret. Regret for bothering them by coming back during the last moments of my life. Perhaps sensing what I was thinking, Mom hugged me tightly and couldn't help but sob, "Sweetheart, your dad and I are so happy you came back. Being with you for the last part of your journey, we only feel like there are no regrets." Tears couldn't help but fall, and my heart finally found peace. On a sunny afternoon, I sat in a rocking chair, with the grapes Mom had washed next to me. In the haze of the midsummer sun, I saw Lily. She was wearing the white dress I had bought for her, leaning on my lap, smiling at me. "Mommy, I can touch you now." I held Lily's hand and watched my parents place my urn next to Lily's. One large, one small, the two urns nestled together, just like how Lily used to sleep in my arms. Lily blinked her clear big eyes. "Mommy, Grandma, and Grandpa can't see us anymore." I stroked her head, "But Grandma and Grandpa have us in their hearts." Although I didn't know why we were still lingering in the world, after seeing my parents stabilize emotionally, I decided to take Lily to see her dad. When he was alive, David's entire focus was on Emily in the room next door. Lily longed for her dad to visit her every day but never got to see him in the end. Now, I granted her wish and let Lily see him to her heart's content. At the hospital, David had just finished a surgery. Lily finally saw her longed for dad and excitedly ran around him. But David couldn't feel her presence and sat resting, indifferent. Another doctor walked by, and David seemed to remember something and called out to him, "Dr. Rodriguez, how was my daughter's recovery before she was discharged?" The doctor smiled. "She recovered wonderfully. Treatment was very timely, no complications at all." I was full of doubt. Ever since David admitted to swapping the kidney source for Emily, I couldn't trust him anymore and decisively transferred Lily to another hospital. A doctor at the other hospital helped us find a new kidney source channel. Considering Lily's emotional state and after evaluating her condition, I had started taking her home to recover. Although 3 days later, she suddenly took a turn for the worse and returned to the hospital emergency room. But when we left the hospital where David worked, Lily's physical condition was nowhere near good. How could this doctor say such a thing? But David believed him. He sighed in relief, thanked him, and went back to work. After he left, Dr. Rodriguez scratched his head. What's up with young David? Wasn't he the one following his daughter's case all along? Her surgery on the 13th was so successful, he even gave the whole hospital cash bonus that day. How could he forget so quickly? I was stunned. Lily nudged my hand, her eyes shining. "Mommy, did Dad come to see me that day?" My throat tightened, and I'll speak. The 13th was the day Lily's rescue failed and she passed away. I still remembered her small form covered by the white sheet, her icy cold little hand, and her pale face. And Emily, on that day, received the life-saving kidney that should have belonged to Lily. It turned out that everyone at this hospital thought Emily was David's daughter. It turned out that on the 13th, he happily gave the entire hospital cash bonus. Even though a soul shouldn't feel cold, I trembled. David, did you ever think that while you were celebrating Emily's successful surgery, your own daughter was closing her eyes forever at another hospital 6 kilometers away? You had time to give everyone cash bonus, but you wouldn't answer the 20-something calls I made to you. Lily was thinking of you until she closed her eyes. My heart was filled with either sorrow or anger, and I smiled tragically. David, you are utterly unfit to be a father. Lily sensed my emotions and hugged my leg. Mommy, don't be sad anymore, I'll always be with you. I don't know if she guessed something. This time, Lily didn't say she wanted Dad anymore. In the evening, David finished work. I took Lily and followed him home. Although she didn't say it out loud, Lily was happy floating around David. In this world, what child doesn't love their parents? At the front door, David took out his key. The door opened, and Jessica and Emily came out to greet him. I was stunned. Even Lily was speechless, staring blankly. Jessica, like the lady of the house, took David's briefcase and coat, smiling gently. You're back? Dinner's ready, go wash your hands quickly. Emily had recovered very well and was bouncing around. Completely unlike my Lily, whose soul looked so weak. David entered the house, stroked Emily's head, and smiled warmly at Jessica. Jessica, you worked hard. Seeing this scene, I felt as if I had been dealt a heavy blow. The first time I saw Jessica was when Ly started elementary school. She had always been a lively, smiling little girl, but a few days into second grade, she became more and more silent. I thought it was just a natural change in personality as a child grew older. Until one time when I was giving her a bath, I discovered dense, purplish bruises under her clothes. The next day, I found Lily's teacher. Ms. Davison, you have to do something about this. How can a child so young be so malicious? Don't you know this is bullying? I was trembling with anger. The teacher quietly tried to comfort me but couldn't offer a solution, which infuriated me. I ranted for a long time, but there wasn't a single word of agreement beside me. I turned my head in anger and saw David staring blankly across the room, fixed on the girl who was the culprit of the bullying, the one named Emily, and her mother beside her. This bullying incident was ultimately smoothed over with Jessica's apology and David's generous forgiveness. Emily received no punishment. I was disbelieving, unable to accept this outcome. But David forcibly pulled me away. When I questioned him, he wasn't flustered at all. I know Jessica's character, there must be a misunderstanding in this matter. She's kind-hearted, the daughter she raised would never do something like bully others. That was when I learned that David had a first love, Jessica. They had a passionate romance in their youth but were forcibly separated. Only now, David with a family and Jessica a single mother, had they finally met again through a twist of fate. That night, I had a huge fight with him and the next day, I put a personal alarm in Lily's backpack. But as if to prove David's conviction, the girl who had smirked at my rage never deliberately bullied Lily again. Instead, from that day on, our two families started running into each other frequently. Sometimes at the park, sometimes at the mall, sometimes near the school. Every time they met, David would talk to Jessica for a long time. He not only started actively attending parent-teacher meetings, but also became more absent-minded at home. I don't know when it started, but David stopped picking Lily up when she was being affectionate. Instead, he would frown and scold her. What kind of behavior is that? Look at Emily, she's never so clingy and demanding. When Lily still got first place in her grade, he no longer praised her like before, but instead tried to push her. Don't get complacent, and don't just focus on studying. Learn from Emily, exercise more and run more. Even at the dinner table, David wouldn't forget to mention Jessica and Emily. Emily just loves meat, that's why she's so tall, and Jessica cooks anything, she's not picky. But what kind of child was Emily? Her grades were at the bottom of the class, she just messed around all day, talked back to teachers, and didn't make friends. These things, in David's mouth, became symbols of being different. Lily had a good temper and never argued, she just earnestly agreed. Even so, David wasn't satisfied. She has no personality or temper at all, she won't be able to handle herself in society like Emily. I objected to his behavior more than once, but David was unfazed. I'm Lily's dad, aren't I saying this for her own good? The truth is hard to hear, she'll understand when she grows up. Later, Lily got sick, dropped out of school, and was admitted to the hospital. But, except for the first day Lily was hospitalized when David came to see her, he never came again after that. Occasionally, I would overhear other medical staff and patients talking about him, and they all said Dr. David was a good father. He's so busy with work, but he still makes time to see his daughter every day. That dad is truly responsible, it's just a pity about the child. Such a young age to get kidney disease, it's hard to treat. There were many similar comments. I had always been puzzled by this. Until I accidentally ran into him and Jessica in the hospital corridor. and I learned that Emily had also been admitted to the hospital with kidney disease. After her admission, David personally did everything for them, running back and forth tirelessly, completely different from how he treated our daughter. Lily often couldn't eat because of the medication. But David, despite his demanding job, insisted on making nutritious meals for Emily every day. Lily was so uncomfortable she couldn't sleep all night. But David spent every night in Emily's hospital room, comforting her to sleep, and even often bought her toys to make her happy. Lily asked me every day, "Where is Dad?" I couldn't answer. But David spent at least an hour every day in Emily's hospital room, just to give that mother and daughter enough sense of security. When I questioned him sharply, David argued self-righteously, "They're a single mother and her child, what's wrong with me helping them out? Lily has both parents, but Emily doesn't. That child lacks a sense of security, I just took care of her a little more. Sarah, can't you stop being so selfish?" Now, David, Jessica, and Emily were sitting in our house, looking as natural together as if they were a family. All the strange things from before suddenly had an explanation. I was shaking with anger, clenching my fists. "David, how dare you? You didn't care about your own daughter's physical condition, and yet you so casually started living like a little family with your first love? What kind of father abandons his child? David, you are worse than an animal." A pair of tender fingers tightly grasped my trembling fist. I looked down and saw Lily's eyes were red, holding back tears. "Mommy, does Dad not want me anymore?" At the dinner table, Jessica covered her mouth dramatically, pretending to casually mention us. "Oh, David, now that you're divorced, when are you bringing Lily back?" She raised a gentle smile. "We're a sin. GLE mother and her child, and we owe it to you for giving us a place to stay. You're busy with work, I can help you take care of Lily, she can even be playmates with Emily." David was startled, only then remembering he had another daughter. I hugged the disappointed Lily and couldn't help but sneer. He kept saying he wanted custody of his daughter. But a week had passed since he gave me 3 days, and he had completely forgotten about Lily. If the child were truly raised by him, I couldn't imagine how incompetent he would be. Perhaps feeling a bit ridiculous, David's face showed some embarrassment. Lily was probably taken by her mother. "I'll call and ask later." Seeing his expression wasn't good, Jessica wisely didn't ask any more questions. After dinner, Jessica quietly went to wash the dishes, and Emily went back to the room to play with toys. The room they were staying in was the bedroom Lily and I used to share. I was glad I had packed everything before I left. Otherwise, if they touched or used our things casually, I would have felt sick to my stomach. David took out his phone, went to a corner of the living room, and dialed my number. I floated beside him, watching with cold eyes. As expected, the phone indicated it was turned off. David's face was angry, and he started typing a text message instead. I leaned closer to read it and scoffed. "Sarah, I knew you'd secretly take the child away. You're a stay-at-home mom, you struggle to make ends meet on your own out there. How could you possibly take good care of the child? I advise you to bring Lily back quickly, or don't blame me for taking you to court." Just a minute ago, he had completely forgotten about Lily, but now he was acting like a good father who cared about his daughter. "David, you really are such a good actor." Jessica finished washing the dishes and came out of the kitchen, asking David with concern, "David, what happened?" Seeing her approach, David's expression softened, but his tone when talking about me was full of disgust. "Sarah, that crazy woman, I don't know where she took the child. Now she's not answering calls or texts, she's just going to fight me to the end." Jessica appropriately showed a worried expression. "Oh no, what can we do? Lily is still sick." Then, she looked up at David's face and put on a pitiful look. "This is all my fault. If Emily hadn't used Lily's kidney source, Sarah wouldn't be so angry. If I hadn't been a soul, I swear I would have felt utterly disgusted and thrown up on them right then." David was even worse. He didn't feel he had done anything wrong at all, acting completely self-righteous. "Jessica, this isn't your fault. I asked Dr. Rodriguez today, he said Lily had recovered very well before she was discharged. See, I told you all along, Emily needed this kidney more than she did." Hearing this, I instinctively stroked my daughter's head. Lily leaned against me, silently wiping away her tears and holding my hand tightly. My heart ached even more. I only regretted that I had died too soon. Why didn't I remember to have taken them both down when I was alive? What a waste, letting that pair of scumbag and that bitch get away with it. Although he kept hitting dead ends, that lunatic David still didn't give up. But before he could find out which hospital Lily had transferred to, he ran into my father near his home. My father was holding my documents, coming to register the deaths for me. At this moment, David was with Jessica, about to take Emily to the amusement park. Seeing my father, he froze for a long time, then chased after him as if waking from a dream. My father had aged, looking even older after my death. He had loved fitness since he was young and hadn't given up exercising in old age. Even his hair had turned white slower than other old men's. But looking at him now, my father's hair was completely white. His figure was thin, his back stooped, making my heart ache uncontrollably. Lily floated to my father's side, wanting to touch his white hair, but her hand passed through. Mommy, Grandpa looks sad. I smiled bitterly. Yes, it would have been good if we could have stayed with them longer. Seeing my father at that moment, I truly began to regret wasting so much time on David. Was he even worth it? Just then, David caught up to my father and stopped him. Dad, since you're here, is Sarah also living nearby? I knew she wouldn't actually go far. David's earlier frustration was gone, he looked radiant, his eyes full of triumph. Where can a woman go with a child? Ask her to come out. My father calmly raised his hand to interrupt. I'm not your dad. Don't call me that. David froze for a moment, frowning. Dad, did Sarah say something to you? Don't listen to her nonsense. I was just helping them out because I felt sorry for them. But she went and made a scene, now she won't even answer my calls. My father glanced at him, his tone calm. I don't know what problems you have between you, and I don't want to know. All I know is that Sarah was so ill, she went back to my family home holding Lily's urn to wait to die. She must have been utterly disappointed in you. She went back so many days ago, and you didn't even go look for her once. That's when I understood, you two really should get divorced. It's for the best. Once divorced, you'll have no ties even in the afterlife. David froze. He seemed to be trying to process the information in my father's words, standing still as if struck by lightning. What did you say? Who died? What urn? My father shook his head, glancing at Jessica and Emily who had chased after David. His eyes were filled with disappointment. David, I didn't agree with you two being together before. But you and Sarah have been married for so many years, and you have Lily. I thought you would have some feelings for them no matter what. Did you ever see Sarah as your wife? Did you ever see Lily as your daughter? My father sighed, his bent back full of weariness. If I had known it would be like this, how could I have let Sarah go with you back then? Even if it cost me my old life, I would have kept my daughter by my side. He turned his head, wiped a tear from the corner of his eye, and walked towards the community center office. David finally reacted, his face turning pale. He wanted to grab my father but didn't quite dare, only forcing a smile and following closely. Dad, what are you talking about? You're joking with me, aren't you? Sarah was perfectly fine when she was arguing with me about the divorce. Is she still mad at me and teaming up with you to trick me? My father ignored him, just walking step by step. David didn't give up, seemingly convinced that I was just tricking him, and raised his voice. Dad, stop lying to me. Sarah is the type who loves to make a scene. Does she want to teach me a lesson? Lily is my biological daughter, how could I not care about her? I've already found a way to get another kidney source. Tell her to come back quickly. Don't play games with the child's health. He chased after my father like this, following him all the way to the community center office, and then watched as my father slowly took out mine and Lily's death certificates. Officer, these are all the documents for my daughter and granddaughter. I'm here to file their death certificates. Thank you for your trouble. David stood frozen, staring blankly. I couldn't help but sneer. He had thought I might be giving him the silent treatment, thought I might be trying to force him to concede. But he had never imagined that I had actually passed away. Not just me, but Lily too, his biological daughter. No, impossible, this is impossible. David frantically snatched the death certificates from the official's hand, looking at them over and over, muttering to himself, how is this possible? How can this be possible? Jessica and Emily, who had been chasing him, finally caught up. Seeing him like this, Jessica frowned and stepped forward to grab his arm. David, what's wrong? But David recoiled as if electrocuted, violently shaking off her hand, almost causing Jessica to fall. His eyes were red, veins bulging on his forehead. Who told you to touch me? Jessica was startled, tears immediately welling up in her eyes. David, I didn't mean to, I was just worried about you. Emily also started crying. Uncle David is mean. He pushed Mommy. Uncle David is mean. But David was like he had lost his mind, relentless like a provoked beast. No, I don't believe it, I need to find out. Jessica's face turned pale with fright, and she hurriedly left with the crying Emily. My father watched with cold eyes, and I also scoffed. How ridiculous. It seemed he knew he had a wife and daughter, and he also knew he shouldn't be so concerned about a single woman with a child. What was he doing before? Acting dumb? Or deliberately provoking me? David picked up the 2 death certificates again, and his hands actually started trembling. He looked at my father with red eyes, his voice surprisingly choked, pleading, "Dad, tell me, this is all fake, right? Sarah is just throwing a tantrum." My father looked at him with a cold face. "Are you putting on this act for me now? When that mother and daughter were alive, you ignored them. When Sarah divorced you, you didn't try to stop her. After so many years of marriage, you kept making mistakes, failing to be a good husband, and even worse, not being a good father. You didn't even worry about anything happening to them after they disappeared for so long. Now that Sarah and Lily are gone, you're acting like this. Are you fooling me, or fooling yourself? David, you deserve to have a guilty conscience, if you have any conscience at all." My father continued to process the death certificates with the official, and David was driven out, looking distraught. His expression was vacant as he looked up at the sky. After a long time, he hailed a taxi and went to the hospital listed on the death certificates. If she had gotten the transplant earlier, that child would have had a great chance of survival. It's such a shame. When she was brought in on the 13th, there was nothing more we could do. David's pupils constricted. 13th? On the 13th, Emily's surgery was successful, and he was so happy he gave everyone in the hospital cash bonus. He remembered it clearly. Yes, the child stopped breathing on the 13th. Her mother fainted on the spot and was later diagnosed with advanced cancer. Alas, it's truly pitiful. At that time, it was just the mother and daughter. One had just passed away, and the other wouldn't live much longer. I saw the records said she was married, but no man came to visit for so many days. She must have been newly widowed. Such misfortune always finds the poor souls. David's eyes completely lost their light, and his lips were bloodless. After a long time, he gave a bitter laugh with red eyes. Yes, she should have been widowed, not passed away herself. He returned home distraught. The living room light turned on, and Emily darted out, hugging David's leg. "Uncle David, come quick. Mommy made your favorite stew." Just looking at Emily, I couldn't help but frown. Lily nudged my hand and said in surprise, "Mommy, Emily is dressed just like me." Yes, I don't know where they found clothes identical to Lily's. Not just the clothes were similar, but also the hairstyle, accessories, and even Emily's expression was an 8/10 imitation. In that instant, I felt utterly disgusted, and my accumulated loathing for Jessica and Emily surged. David noticed it too, naturally. He froze for a few seconds, then pulled Emily away with an unreadable expression. "Emily, who picked out that outfit?" "For you?" Emily didn't notice the frozen atmosphere at all. She happily twirled around. "Mommy picked it out, of course." "Uncle David, does it look good?" David curled his lips coldly. "Good, it looks very good." He walked into the living room. Jessica, sitting by the dinner table, saw him return and happily took off her apron. Her face flushed as she gave a gentle smile. "You're back? Dinner's just ready, come and have a taste." "I heard about Sarah." "Don't be sad, David, you still have me and Emily. I'll take care of you like Sarah did, and Emily will be dutiful to you in the future." I sneered continuously. Seeing Jessica like this, she must have been waiting for me to die for a long time, right? Now David, that scumbag, had a perfect reason to legitimize their relationship. That scumbag and that bitch, they deserve to be together. He was right about one thing. I should have been widowed. Why didn't God take that pair of jerks instead? I thought David would be happy, finally having a reason to become a real family with Jessica. But when he heard those words, his eyes turned cold. Then he flipped the dinner table. "Ah!" Jessica screamed, startled. The table full of delicious-looking food was scattered everywhere, and shards of porcelain from the plates cut Jessica's face as she stood nearby. Jessica was shocked. "David, what's wrong with you?" Emily ran over at the sound, and seeing the mess on the floor, she started crying hysterically. "Shut up!" David turned and roared at Emily, scaring her into reflexively covering her mouth. He gritted his teeth. "The kidney source in your body was supposed to be Lily's. If it weren't for you, how could my daughter?" "David, that's enough." Jessica's face also showed anger. Like a protective mother wolf, she ran over and picked up the startled Emily. "Everything was your own doing. I never asked you to divert Lily's kidney source." Jessica spoke sharply. "David, I'm grateful. You helped us, but we don't owe you anything. I paid for the treatment and surgery fees. You curing my daughter was your job. Everything else you did was of your own free will. You're the one who's the jerk. Don't put the blame on a single mother and her child." Saying that, Jessica angrily carried Emily and left. Only David was left standing alone in the mess. He stared blankly, muttering to himself, "Yes, I'm the only jerk. I truly am a jerk." I looked at him, and surprisingly, the fiery emotions I had felt before had subsided. "Yes, David, you really are a despicable jerk." He sat dejectedly in the wreckage and didn't sleep all night. The next day, the news of him using his position to swap kidney source slots went viral online. At the same time, the messy affair between him, Jessica, Emily, me, and Lily was also exposed. Immediately, the internet was filled with public outcry and condemnation against him. The hospital where David worked immediately issued a statement firing him, but he didn't seem to care. After searching every corner of the house and finding no photos or mementos of me and Lily, he broke down. He took an overnight train to my family home, knelt at my parents' door, and saw the urns on the cabinet. He stared at my urn for a long time, then saw the familiar urn next to it, the one I had held in my arms. David cried out in pain. After that, David donated all his remaining assets. On a bleak rainy night, he committed suicide by overdose. Our souls met. He saw us and froze for a long time, his eyes slowly turning red. "Sarah, Lily, I'm so sorry." Lily and I watched him from a distance, refusing to let him approach. Our bodies gradually dispersed into motes of light, our souls disappearing. David's eyes filled with panic. Lily smiled and disappeared first. I looked at David, my heart perfectly calm. "David, in the next life, let's never meet again." In the last moment before consciousness faded into nothingness, I heard the sound of distant weeping. And one last word that dispersed into dust, "I'm sorry."